I'm starting. How will you revitalize the South? Become monkey. How will you revitalize the South?
The name is Popovich, but yeah. Revitalize the South. Well, that's an interesting question. Oh, give me a second. Look, I'm a strong believer in incentivizing businesses, okay? I think that we need to give out grants to innovative businesses that provide a solution to real problems in the South that people are facing every day. We need to rework Southern infrastructure and we need to build a sense of Southern unity. I believe one of the reasons the East has managed to take the position in the nation that they hold today is because they have a strong sense of identity which we don't have in the South. I believe that building a Southern identity that we can be proud of will be pivotal to revitalizing the Southern part of our nation. Thank you.
Your answer to the question?
You know, I believe that it would be good to. Sorry about that.
Good to do what?
Okay. I think if I'm elected as regional assembly member, I would go to central government and demand that they fucking fully fund our activities so that we can build roads, that we can do all these various things that are important for the improvement and maintenance of the South. I will be.
Do you want to answer the question?
Me?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Look, folks, the South for the longest time was the center of foreign politics. We've got the capital, we've got countless premiers, countless senators, and what do we get for it? Right, we got nothing. The Southern People's Alliance, our first mayor in the whole nation was elected in Urbis, and Urbis immediately, within a few weeks of this election, it's become the second biggest city in Florida once again after a long time of decline under the NFL and under the Libcons. And all of a sudden, we're elected, and Urbis is revitalized. What I'm saying, folks, is that under the SPA, the same thing will happen to the South. We'll create a great identity, millions will want to move here, we'll implement great policies, and the South will be great again. That's all I have to say.
What specific policies have you got to revitalize the South? Or Felix, sorry.
Look, we have a great plan to institute a regional public housing program. We'll subsidize business. We'll implement public transportation in the South. We'll find great ways for Southerners to exist in the South without the need to rely on other regions. That's pretty simple, I think.
Question for Velik and Popovich. You both are or have been senators, right?
Correct.
I have not been a senator, no.
You have a government position. I'm trying to remember which one.
I'm the Ministry of the Interior.
What specifically have you done for the South? Well, in the central government.
Well, I've already started work on an infrastructure rework that's going to revitalize the southern infrastructure when it comes to rails, when it comes to roads, and it's going to be very helpful for southerners to be able to get around in the southern part of our nation. I'm also working on a police force that's able to keep Easterner troublemakers at bay, that's able to, make sure that it can keep our nation, including southerners, safe.
Velik answered the question.
Now, it has been a little bit since I was last a senator. I've not been in government since I believe it's been about a year since that has been the case. And I'll personally admit I did not do quite as good of a job as I did my first time around. But when I was first premier, right, senator and premier, I believe I did pretty good for the nation as a whole. In the South, there was not an issue of a degenerate South, and I don't believe the issue was quite as bad as it was previously.
Classic
during my second
Lipcom
term.
denying the decline of the South under their governance.
I now.
Would you like to say something about?
Under the Lipcons, the South went from the #1 region to the #3 region. Even the North has become greater than the South under the Lipcons.
The North did not exist.
Bigley,
Because of the Lipcons.
can
It's
you
because of the
be
Lipcons.
quiet? Can you both be quiet? Would you like to say something in reaction to Felix? Argument?
Done.
You got interrupted and you were gonna say the same stuff.
Where? Okay. Go ahead.
Well, I think they're asking for you to respond.
I thought I did not properly, recognize the potential issues that the South had, right? But now, after being out of politics and coming back into it, I realize, that the South and other parts of Faru deserve better from the regional governments and the central government, right? Governance in Faru needs to be better, and I will try to do that as part of the regional government. If I am elected.
Would you like to add any comments to each other's?
Well, I think it's typical of communists to try and interrupt when someone else is speaking because all they can do is be aggressive and violent without actually having any ideas to back it
By
up.
definition, Felix is not a communist, just as you weren't a
Oh,
fascist.
they call themselves a
But-
social democrat, but it's whatever. It's all the same thing at the end of the day.
Please open a dictionary.
At the end of the day, they want to bring ruin. At the end of the day, they want to bring ruin to Faru, and to me, that's all the same. If you want
Speaking of ruins, the South is covered in ruins, and under the Lipcon governance, there's been nothing to be done or to address this. More and more towns have been abandoned, more and more people have been living to the east, and they want to talk about ruins? They're the ruiners, they're the true ruiners of the South, and that's all I have to say about that.
I heard the SPA has plans to remove these ruins. How are they gonna pay for it?
Look, we have many avenues through which we plan on acquiring revenue for the government, a big one of those is requiring that a part of the tax money that's collected in the South be given to the Southern government, And that would be a good start for raising a budget for a Southern government, and I think after that we'll look at other avenues of revenue through committees and research.
Do you have any comment on that?
I believe my position might be clear on this particular question, but I'd like to it would be good to reiterate. I would like to to demand of the central government to fully pay the regional budgetary needs, so that so the South and the East, any regions that may exist in Faru, can be properly funded to provide for that the citizens of this nation can provide for themselves, provide what they need, such as road infrastructure, the expansion of rail.
Why hasn't the Eastern government petitioned?
I don't know. You could go and ask them. It feels
Okay.
that they have not done very much, and I'm not sure why.
Let's get on to the next topic. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on how to keep Faru safe from rioting, looting, and bombing?
Well, I believe I've said before that I'm already trying to revitalize the police force, and I think the most appropriate way to deal with things like this, we need a stronger police force that's able to deal with these delinquents and put them in jail. We need to make sure that we're recruiting more people so that we're not, the police officers are not at risk at any point, and making sure that they also get properly compensated, and that we can train our police officers and give them proper equipment to deal with these situations. And I believe I have the most capacity to actually do something in that front, given that I am the Minister of the Interior.
We need a Southern Defense Force to protect the South from external and internal threats that constantly cause disorder within our region. It feels as if every week there's a new riot in Urbis, and there's nothing that's ever done about it, Just yesterday, I saw someone try and shoot someone, and the state police couldn't even apprehend them, So I think we need a Southern Defense Force by the people and for the people to defend ourselves from disorderly threats.
So what you think you're going to keep the peace by having a Southern regionalist, factionalist of your party militia that's going to take justice into their own hands? Is that how you think?
Think about is
Is that how you're going to think
this?
They
see everything as divisive, and
Please, can I speak?
see self-determination as a goal that should be pursued. They think only in terms of division.
Oh, so you want Southern independence? You want to secede from Peru? Is that what you're saying? Self-determination? Because that's what I understand.
That's exactly what I'm saying. They always take every policy to the most extreme, and then when we do the same with them, it's a big problem. The Lepcons, they're hypocrites, folks. It's true.
Look, I'm just taking what you're saying, and I'm interpreting.
Can you both shut up?
I would personally like to. I would say that I agree, strongly with Popovich over here, and I would, and if I'm sorry,
Well, of course you would, you're a Lepcon.
Look,
but I'd like to say that I want to try to retain the unity of this nation, this great nation, right? Not divide ourselves over the South, the East, the North. Right?
Unity is about accepting the forms within. There are many forms within Faru, and we must work together, separately but together, into making this great as a whole through the organs of this nation. The South, the East, the North, the people, they're all separate bodies that work together. And that's how unity is achieved, not through monoliths.
But you're not going to create unity by making militias that are unsupervised and not.
can I
Can
I ask you some questions to clarify?
Alright.
The police has recently been a disgrace. Arno has stolen money, failed to pay the police. How will you correct these wrongs that Arno has done?
I believe in a strong vetting process for all the people who enter the academy. I believe in giving promotions entirely based on merit. I have in my new bylaw.
Arno was Minister of Interior, right?
Yes.
Under
He was
Lepcons.
also sentence director, but yes.
And he was.
Sentent has been dissolved as well, and with it, all the problems in their bylaws. We've created new bylaws that don't allow for that kind of thing anymore. Bonuses are limited. The MOI doesn't even get paid in the new bylaws. These are strictly to reward the police, the state police, for their effort. That is.
Do you have any comment?
I personally prosecuted the Arno case. And let me tell you folks, I have never seen a case this crooked and corrupt. The defense, that I know personally, I know that they have taken bribes before, and I wouldn't be surprised if they tried bribing the very respectable judge, Logan Dukakis, to arrive to this conclusion. Listen, folks, I've talked to every state police officer. Arno had paid none of them. I was in a full investigation, and this case got shut down. And if anyone knows how to bring justice to Arno, it's me, folks. Because I know what really happened. And if I'm elected to the regional government, I will make sure that retribution is achieved for this gross embezzlement.
There's nothing more that I like more than to also
Can
make
we let
Arno
Felix
pay for
speak?
this.
Felix is
finished.
getting overshadowed. Let Felix.
I would like to say that I'm personally very glad that the sentence has been dissolved. It was it shouldn't have been existed in the first place. It was always going to be abused, such as as was done under Arno. It is.
Can I make an objection?
Both the Senate
you voted
and the courts.
An objection. You voted A on this bill. I was there.
Yes, I did, but I regret it deeply.
Why did you vote A on this
You-
fascist bill?
It was the party
Look,
line, and
I
You
have to-
say that you are personally accountable for the embezzlement.
Honestly,
to a certain degree,
Bigly,
yes, and I would like
yes,
to,
Bellic,
I would
yes.
like to
Why
make
should
up for
anyone
it.
vote for you? Why should
Would
anyone
like to-
vote for you
I
when
would
you're
like-
responsible for embezzlement?
I would like to make up for it, and also, I
How about you
want to make.
personally donate 1,700 lira to the treasury if you want to make up for
Felix,
it?
will you stop interrupting the candidates?
Felix, can I ask Felix a very important question? You're one of the wealthy benefactors from Arno's embezzlement, right? What is your opinion on?
Say the last part of what you're saying.
What is your opinion on you being a wealthy benefactor of Arno's?
It is true that I had that Arno bought about 320 lira worth of dye from me, but because of that, I put it all into the first mutual fund that headquartered in Markarth, and I did this so that
Who does this mutual aid fund?
Could you restate the last part again?
Who does this mutual aid fund belong to?
I believe it is run by Anton Melechov, and an interesting figure. But
So you use state
it's a good
embezzlement?
financial industry.
So you state embezzlement to fund anti-state.
No, it's a financial institution for anyone who is
Who
able
wants to say that Bellic was not in on this embezzlement scheme for the whole time? To me it seems pretty obvious that this is a possibility.
You are accusing me of being involved
Yes,
in
I am.
embezzlement? That is absolutely false. I would never do
Sounds
that.
like a stretch.
It
Popovich,
sounds like something you're gonna
Popovich,
say.
Popovich, do you have any comment on the accusation that Felix did embezzle?
Look, I'm not entirely sure on what happened, but my understanding is that Arno committed the embezzlement and then went to buy dyes. Felix is in no way responsible for who Arno chooses to buy their dyes from. It's not. There's no way they should be responsible for it. It makes no sense.
Exactly, and even if even considering that, I still wanted to make sure that it would be put to a public good, and thus I deposited it into the first mutual fund so that there could be greater loans made by that financial institution, so that so that many could benefit from it.
Business people have a moral imperative to do business ethically and with mind to the needs of the people. This is an ethical business, knowing that Velik knew that those funds were embezzled. She should never have taken this money and should have demanded that this money be taken back to the people before doing any business with this Arnold.
For what? Why would it go back to the people? Tell me, for what?
I condemn all the businessmen who do business with Arno in wake of this embezzlement.
I'm sorry, so you would have
you
preferred
cannot be
the
sure that those
government
exact
kept the
funds
funds? You would have preferred the government kept the funds and done nothing with it? At least this way, some of it went to Bellic and back into the Farun economy.
Are you defending embezzlement?
No, I'm defending
Yes, he is.
Bellic's. I'm defending Bellic taking the money. I think it's a way of making it not.
The money be returned. That's pretty simple. That's her moral imperative as a member of the business community.
I don't think that makes any sense.
Is this true? Is this your moral imperative as a member of the business?
yes, I tried to, to do what I best, could see, benefiting Faruns, and the way I started to do that was depositing the money into the first mutual fund.
I mean, the case had already been acquitted, right? There's no way the money was going to go back to the people either way.
Yeah, the best thing we could do is, get him to spend money on it, spend that money so that he can get back to the people.
That's classic libcons, folks. They're fine with embezzlement as long as it personally benefits them and their business buddies.
Look, it also benefits the mutualists.
The mutualists are in with the big business. It's true. I've heard it. I've seen it in a paper.
Is this true?
Big business, big
Yeah.
mutualism, big mutual fund. They're all one and the same.
Is this true, Velik and Popovich, that you are
This
fans of the
sounds
mutual?
insane. This is an insane conspiratorial man. I don't know what he's talking about, but I'm sure
Yeah.
that I can assure you that I would never make deals with the FMA. Sorry, and I don't know.
And yet, your party approved an FMA Minister of Defense in exchange for what seemed to be appointing justices.
Can we go on to the next section related to his comment? I've heard rumors that, Anton Melikovic basically told the military to stop Lujuba's impeachment. This was part of why Lujuba was not impeached, because the premier didn't want a civil war. What are your thoughts on the military being this politicized by a mutualist Minister of Defense?
It's certainly not great. It's certainly not great, folks. But but also, has the military not been has structurally and in terms of equipment, hasn't it been in a better shape than previously? I absolutely would oppose the politicization.
I'm not asking
of the
about.
military.
I wasn't asking about its equipment. I was
With all
asking
due
about the
respect, Mrs. Moderator, I don't think this is relevant to the Southern government in any way. Beyond the fact that the Libcons approved a communist, an anarchist Minister of Defense and let them take over the military for political means. But beyond that, I don't believe that this is
This
relevant
part
to how
is-
To be
the South
clear,
is governed.
the choice of the ministry was of the president, not of the local.
Can
The
I
Senate, which is
speak?
controlled by
I
Libcons, approved the choice.
I have
They
a
couldn't deny
question.
it.
I have a question that's related. There's a reason why I asked this question. The South has had terrorist bombings by terrorist groups and political violence. This is related to the crime question. How specifically are you willing to combat political violence here in Urbis and repair the bombings that Urbis has experienced?
If I may, with the Southern government, we plan on fully funding the the renovations to repair Urbis, the many holes that have been left by terrorism, and the many buildings that need to be demolished due to terrorism that was caused by Libcom negligence. If the SPA is elected, if me and one of my friends is elected to the regional assembly, we will fund the reconstruction of Urbis, at least in great part. Which is something the Libcons would never suggest, and if they do suggest it, they're lying to you folks. They would never do this.
Do you two have comments on that? I need to go to the restrooms.
I don't understand why Mr. Felix believes that we wouldn't support something like this. It seems pretty common sense policy that we would
Because
aid
if you
Urbis
would, you
in
would have already with
reconstructing.
the Senate.
Well, we're working towards that, and we believe we
It's
should
always
keep
working towards something and never doing something with the Libcons. It's true.
No.
As an individual, I would agree to the similar plans that as you have for the repairing of Urbis.
I mean, why stop at Urbis? We can also repair, the infrastructure of the south, which I'm also already working on, and
Of course,
among
but
other
but
things.
this particular question was more about
Of
the
course.
particularities of Urbis, and so
And I mean, when it comes to preventing political violence, I mean, like I said before, I think the police force is the best way to go about this. We need to make sure the police force is stronger and more capable to combat these kind of situations. And, I've already taken steps towards that, and
How
I'm taking
can the
more steps.
Lipcons talk about reducing terrorism and radicalism when they hired a radical anarchist as Minister of Defense?
Again, that was not our pick for Ministry of Defense.
You could have denied it and forced them to choose among
And have
other
no ministry?
candidate.
was it not up to Premier Sobchak? This
It was
whole
up to,
situation.
it's up to the Senate to approve or deny all the ministers.
It was the choice of the presidency, though, and they could have just not given us a Ministry of Defense. It's better to have one that is working
Actually, I
towards
think it's
something to be
because
kept
no
on a
Minister of
leash.
Defense, they're an anarchist as Minister of Defense. For someone who dares call me a communist, you seem like much more of a communist than I am.
That's a ridiculous statement. I just believe that we can keep someone like him on a leash if it must be
Well,
him that
clearly
is
there's no
struck.
leash
What?
because he threatened to coup the government.
Look, can I speak up on this? Threatening to coup the government is leading to more chaos in the city of Urbis, right? How does having somebody who supposedly threatened to coup the government benefit the people of Urbis?
Who threatened to the government?
I don't believe it was at least directly advocating coupping the government, but the actions of Anton Melikov could be portrayed as
I'm
leading in
just
that
repeating
direction.
what he said. Are you sure he threatened to coup the government? If he did, why should he be let in the
Look,
government?
I'm
and
not
continue to
saying
sit?
that he's a good choice. I think that if we could remove him, we should, but we can't, and it's not really up to us who's the Ministry of Defense is. That's a choice of the president, and we can't really do anything about that until the next election when we hopefully get a Libcon president.
Well, I mean, it's not at least directly the choice of the president, but is there not any other potential choices for who could properly manage the military? Obviously, Melikov has done a decent job besides the politicization of of it, right? Like,
He
is there
called
not
for
any
the
other
military
choices?
to march on a public assembly meeting.
I absolutely believe there are better choices. I'm just saying that we can't have them right now because our president wouldn't choose better choices than Melikov.
Folks, I'm talking directly to the audience here. Listen to those people. They're trying to justify a man who has threatened to march
I'm
the
sorry.
military on a
I'm
public
sorry.
assembly meeting.
How do you plan?
Conscience vote for those people for this party?
Felix, how do you plan on removing Anton Melikov?
To
Well,
talk
that's
about
not
the
my
president,
burden. I'm not in the central government. I'm running for local
about the
government. I'm talking
the
of the
president.
So
character of the
you
party.
offer no solutions. You only offer criticism and no solutions to the actual problem.
Well,
Typical communist.
And I-
Typical
and I-
communist.
And I would like to say about the president, it is interesting that that Premier subject didn't go through with those impeachment process. At the convening the public assembly. I'm not sure why that was.
Can I ask you an
Yeah, I
important
do believe that was
question?
incorrect on this part.
The first mutual aid fund that's owned by Anton, who threatened to coup the government. That's very interesting. Felt like and you gave money to Anton.
I don't think it is personally owned by Anton, but it is it is correct that it is at least operated by Anton. This as part of the structure of the first mutual fund, I believe we'd be able to elect a new operator. As I guess I should probably start a process to figure out who else could operate it. And
Can I ask a question, Felix? How do you plan on combating radical ideologies such as communism in this?
I mean, he is a communist. I'm not sure.
Hold on. I'm reading something. Look, am I a progressive? Am I a social democrat? Yes. And social democracy is the path to avoid communism. If you do not give the people what they need, they will turn to radical ideologies such as the FMA, such as anti-Southern Eastern nationalism, such as fascism. You need to give the people what they need and what they want, and this is what the SP intends to do.
And what is that? What are the actual policies that the people need, that you believe the people need so badly?
A government that cares about its people. That's what we're giving. That's what we're doing.
That's not a policy. What are your policies?
What policies do you propose to combat communism?
I believe that the best way to combat communism is by ensuring we have a strong economy so that people don't have to turn to these insane ideologies for help. And the way to do that is promoting businesses, giving business grants, and ensuring our economy thrives that way.
Question: the FMA strongest location is in the East. The East has the strongest economy in all of our. By your logic, the South should be a hotbed of communists and anarchists and fascists. But that's just not true.
I mean, I believe it is. Look at who's standing to the left of us.
Social democracy is not communism. Pick up a dictionary. And you have proposed no policies at all. What policies do you plan on combating communism in the South? And what policies do you have that help?
We will give the people the right to have a place to live and work, the right to unionize, the right to own a business. We'll subsidize transport. We'll subsidize agriculture. We'll hire people to build solid infrastructure. We'll give a subsidy for every person that joins a town in the South. You heard this right. For every person that joins a town in the South, we'll give town governments money.
And how do you plan to pay for all of
money for
that?
them to build housing for those people. This is what avoids communism, not free market nonsense that the Lepcons keep pushing it. Clearly isn't working.
And how do you plan to pay for all of that?
That's a good question. How are you going to do
We will
it?
ask the central government for money at first, We'll ask for a fair share of the taxes, and furthermore, we will
Okay,
look into
and when we
avenues
run out of
raising
money-
we will look into avenues of raising funds.
Like
for-
what? Like increasing taxation? Is that what you want? You want more taxes?
I cannot comment
More
on this
burden
as we speak.
on the
We
Farun
will look-
people?
We will have a commission into how we can raise funds
Oh, so you
independently of
have
the
no
southern-
solution?
Neither
So you
do
have concepts? So you have concepts of a plan for revenue?
I have a plan,
I think-
and my plan is finding solutions that work for the people of the South by consulting them.
So your plan is finding a plan. That's a fantastic one.
What's your plan, Bucko? How about you take a crack at it?
My plan is promoting businesses in the South. I've already said it. And it's
So how will you raise
How
money?
will
Why are there no
bolster this
businesses
economy?
in the South? There are no business in the South. This has always been Lipcon policy.
It's because we haven't spent enough on giving business grants
So
and
how will
ensuring
we find
that
this
there's
money?
a powerful.
How will you find
Well,
money?
We
Where
don't
will
need
we find-
that much more money to only give business grants, but for the type of stuff that you're talking about, we're gonna need a whole lot more money.
It's the same policy. You're just putting it in different.
Look, I think you're a biased moderator. I think you might be yourself a communist, because this is insane. You're giving no
Whoa, whoa,
pushback on the communists, and this is ridiculous. Okay.
You have said that the defense minister, a noted mutualist, has done some good stuff. I will not take this.
Look, all I've said
But
is that
Dalek,
he
do you have any
reworked the
comments?
military.
Do you have any comments?
I would agree with Felix in certain limited ways. I would not agree with the state, be it the central state or the regional government, public housing. It is a distortion in the market and is not needed.
I mean, okay. if I may say something, if you start giving people stuff for free, they're just not gonna work anymore, and the economy is going to collapse. That's what's going to happen. It's what's happened in Bulgaria. It's what happens in Sofia, and it's what he wants to happen in fucking the south.
Market
What
is the
economy?
most
You
successful
hard
city in our nation. The market's the most successful city in our nation, and you know what they have? They have free housing. You know what we don't have? We don't have free housing. And so this is how we fix our region. We need to
perhaps
copy what's successful in
subsidize.
the east and create new successful policies in the south. And meanwhile, this this market anarchist wants people to fend for themselves and become homeless and just move to the east where we can get access to more available housing. This is true.
It's ridiculous.
You can't just say something is ridiculous. Why is it ridiculous?
Oh, I'm sorry, the statement that I'm somehow an anarchist because I don't believe the government should be spending ridiculous amounts of money on giving things to people
You're
for
a
free
market
when we
anarchist.
should instead
You're
be
a
putting them
market
to
anarchist.
work.
How is Popovich an anarchist?
I'll fact check. Popovich
I'm a
is not an
strong
anarchist.
believer in the state.
Popovich is not an anarchist.
Good. Now, I would like to say, I would take a little bit, certain ideas from Felix and certain ideas from Popovich. Both, have being, funding business, right, and ensuring that southern businesses can sprout and thrive. Okay, across the south. Yes.
What Vex wants to give you folks is the middle of the road, and the middle of the road is insolvent compromise. Popovich, he wants to go too far right, and they're like, she'll just go a little too far right. This is not what you need, folks. What you need is a righteous social democratic path.
Okay. What is this righteous social democratic?
I have described it times and times again. I've said it earlier. Subsidies for agriculture, housing, a right to unionize, a right to own a business, a right to have a place to live and work, subsidized transformation. Transportation. Will clear the ruins of the South and will make it brand new once again. This is what I propose, and this is what will be done if we are elected the Southern People's Alliance. I keep getting held up to this massive standard of specific policy, and all I've heard from those people is vague gesturing towards business grants and, central government policy. I haven't heard a single real policy from those two Lepcons to my right, and yet they keep being asked, what's my specific policy? How about you ask them what's their specific policy? I've named countless policies, and they never name a single one.
What are your specific policies? Business grants? It appears the Social Democrats agree with you on subsidies. What specific policies do you have? And be specific.
Look, I believe in reworking the southern infrastructure and making sure that it's easy for people to get around in the South. That's going to boost businesses in the South. And I believe in, to some extent, subsidizing the things that Felix has talked about. But I don't believe in giving people houses for free. I don't believe that the average southern worker needs to pay for people that just sit around and do nothing and get houses for free. I think that's ridiculous.
If you need to have a house to work, is that correct? By your logic, you don't want people.
You don't need to have a house to work.
I've filled out many jobs.
This is ridiculous. My opponents are ridiculous. You don't need a house to work. What next? You don't need clothes to work. You don't need food to work. You don't need money to get food. This person is completely disconnected from the reality of the working class. He lives in his Lipcon ivory tower. Meanwhile, people struggle to work and eat. There isn't even a food store in Urbis anymore. And this guy, he goes around and says, you don't even need a house to work. He's ridiculous. He's insane. He's a market anarchist. That's what I'm talking about.
He's not a market
If it was
anarchist.
up to him, he would let the market eat you whole just because it's allowed. It should be allowed to. This is true.
He's not a market anarchist. I need to fact. I filled out many job
out of the market, and that's market anarchism.
Now, obviously,
I
saying
filled out
that,
many
workers
job
in a united
applications.
house to work is a little silly. But if we ensure that we have a strong economy through making sure that that these workers have work to do, such as in the South specifically, building more roads, expanding the rail system, right? If we make sure that they have work, that they can then pay for their for house.
And you know what we could do instead of just giving out free houses? Incentivizing housing businesses that are going to, create housing that allow people to, rent out those houses this way, creating an actual market around that and creating and bolstering our economy instead of just giving things to people for free.
Question: what are these incentives to build houses you are proposing?
I'm talking about, money incentives to people who have strong,
Are they
have
subsidies?
good business
Are-
proposals, and I'm talking about, potentially lowering taxes if they exist against the
What
lowering
taxes? The
taxes for
South
these
doesn't have taxes. The South doesn't have taxes.
I'm saying that if there should be taxes in the South, we should lower taxes for people who do have these businesses to incentivize them.
So you want to tax the poor and give to the rich?
No, ideally there would be no taxes in the South.
Can the moderator and Popovich stop debating?
I feel, I would agree. The one thing that Felix mentioned was subsidizing, giving money to towns that get more people into them. This I feel this in conjunction with the natural gain in population in the South would spur the the want of housing developers to build more housing in the South. Thus improving the economy.
Look, Urbis has already implemented my policy of public housing, and guess what? Urbis is the fastest growing city in the entire nation. We will implement those policies that make Urbis so successful region-wide, and you will see, folks, you will see, the South will then become, in turn, the fastest growing region. We will throw every other region in dust, and they will beg, please, South, stop being so great, stop being the fastest growing region, you're leaving no scraps for us. And you know what we will say? We'll say, no, we're the best region, and our policies, they will make us great. And this is why you should vote for the Southern People's Alliance.
All Felix is offering you is appeal to emotion and these ridiculous things. I think we need to have concrete solutions. We need to have stronger Southern unity. We need to have stronger businesses in the South, and we need to make sure that our infrastructure works for our people and to be able to combat Eastern influence as well.
Again, I have a concrete example of what great the SP can do. Look at Urbis. Urbis, fastest growing city, the city with the most construction going on. Soon the South will become much like Urbis. It'll become great. That's all I have to say. And the Lepcons have no example like this to show because Lepcon policies are a complete failure in terms of growth.
I think we should go to the next. I have to find.
What's the next?
What are your thoughts on the Southern-Eastern rivalry and what do you plan to do about it?
I feel this rivalry does not need to exist. The East and the South and the East, can come together, recognize each other as fellow Faruns, and and find ways that they can both prosper. The East is not the enemy. We all need a good economy, a great. There are many things that the South and the East can do together that that would improve things for everyone.
You cut off.
Felix, what are your thoughts on the South and Eastern rivalry and what you plan to do?
Look, the Eastern people, they're fine folk. I love the Eastern people. But the East needs to give up its illegal land claims in the east of the southern region. The Trans-Yuhu Valley, and the Dimbusport Peninsula, the rightful southern territory, and I think they need to legally cede this territory to us if they want to be serious about interregional cooperation. Otherwise, I think, the Eastern people and the Southern people, we're brothers, we're brothers and sisters and siblings. There's nothing wrong with either people. All there is wrong is those illegal land claims pursued by the Eastern business elite.
Is there even anything in that contested strip of land?
There's important resources that the big Eastern business wants to steal from the Southern people, and there's the one road, folks, the one road that goes from Jeffersburg to Kino. The one road is in this region, and I think for our infrastructural sovereignty, we need access to this region in order to maintain good infrastructure and good connectivity between our towns.
Do you have any comments?
Would it not be to the benefit of both, the South and the East to ensure that that road is properly maintained?
I mean, to be clear, has Jeffersburg not already joined the South?
Yep.
Jeffersburg has joined the South.
What is the problem here then? I mean, Jeffersburg is part of the South. They're connected. The connection that you talked about is already a part of the South. I don't see why you're being so militant about this. I mean, it's already part of the South.
It's part of the South, but under the Eastern claim, they claim our infrastructure, they claim our fertile land, and they claim our minerally rich land that could benefit the Southern people. And instead, it's going to be funneled into Eastern business interests if we don't press this issue to the Eastern government.
I mean, it's not going to be pressed. It's not going to be funneled to the East because it's not part of the East. It's going to remain in the South. And I don't understand what the problem here is. I mean, sure, they can claim it, but it's not part of their government. They can't do anything about it.
I mean, they claim for it to be part of them, and I think they need to rescind that claim if they want to be serious about interregional cooperation as well.
I suppose that's fair, but I just don't think it's such an important issue.
What is your opinion on the reliance on the East for basic services and goods? Are you having to travel to my car just to buy iron, wool, and food, which has been on the minds of many Southerners? How do you plan on reality as that? What is your opinion on the reliance on having to go to the East for?
It would be. The South is a fairly agricultural region, is it not? Yeah, it should be able to provide, to create places, shops to buy food from, and to also produce that food within the region, right? And so we need to try to encourage someone to thus create the various different places to provide to buy fish, these great products.
I mean, yeah, like I said, I mean, it's important to help innovative businesses set themselves up in the South, but also we need a larger player base. I believe that the way to do this is building a Southern identity, because it's this lack of Southern identity that makes cities like Salisbury, which should by all means be Southern, their Southern claim, and they cling themselves to the East because we cannot provide this kind of identity. And I think it's important that we build a Southern identity, and so that we can be the backbone of the nation that we deserve to be.
Felix, what is your opinion on the reliance on the East for basic services?
It is a travesty that there has been no intervention from the government from stopping southern business from fleeing to the east. We need southern business, we need southern food supply, we need southern construction supply, we need economic sustainability for the southern region first and foremost.
Can I ask what businesses have gone from the south to the east? I mean, if
The
many have
famous
gone,
the famous blocks to your drop shop, usually in the past it used to be a center for urban construction. It's moved to the east because there wasn't enough business here. That's a great example.
that's a shame. I believe once we start building a little bit more, perhaps that another location will be made here again. It would why would the owner of block till you drop not want to seize the opportunity of having a location near
Because
where
it's a
people are
market.
building more.
Can I ask a question? The final question. How do you plan on dealing with / working with the central government? How do you feel about the central government? You spelled this question weird. How do you feel about this? What the central government has done for the South and Faru in feel?
What's the question exactly?
How do you plan on working with the central government, and how do you feel about the central government's doing with the South and Faru?
Look, the central government and the Liberal Conservative Party, it has ignored for the longest time the South and let us decline, growing from the heart of the nation, from the bottom region in terms of economy, in terms of people, and in terms of culture. But worry not, folks. We will work with the central government to acquire funding and to insert cooperation as to make sure that the South can thrive like it deserves to.
How do you plan on working with the southern government, with the central government? Sorry, because I mean,
Well, obviously,
you
we're
keep
not
denouncing the
capitulating.
Libcons. Are you suggesting that you work with the Libcons after just constantly raving and
We will
going on about how
negotiate.
terrible we
We
are?
will negotiate. We will
Do you know what a
negotiate.
negotiation is? These are two different parties. The parties need to negotiate on the national stage.
We will not
Even
let
after
the
I just
Libtons
think
walk
it's-
all over us.
I just think it's a bit ridiculous that you keep complaining so much about the Libcons and you think that you can work with them so easily.
I don't. I think it will be very difficult. And if the Libtons will not give us what we need, then it's on them for being
No.
partisan hacks.
Well, that's that. It's going to be very difficult for you to get anything done. Meanwhile, if you choose
This is
a Libcon,
blackmail.
it's
This
going
is
to be
government
it's going to be much
Are you
easier to actually
blackmailing the
get something.
South? Are you
No.
blackmailing the South?
By no means. By no means. I'm just saying that
unfair.
a Libcon is going to be able to work with Libcons much easier than someone who
This
keeps
sounds like the
raving
logic
on
of a
them.
one-party state. This is revelation.
I would like to
I
say
think that's an
personally.
exaggeration.
I would like to say personally that I would, along with the South, that we would also talk with the East to help increase.
This isn't about the East.
strength. I know it's not about the East, but working together with the East to ask the governments to help fund the regions. It would would it not help to strengthen the claim, to create a greater push towards to actually doing it. This is why I would work, the South and the East would work together to talk, to the central government to fund, both of them with at least, I say this, as a definite number, at least 500 lira each.
Popovich, how do you plan on negotiating with the government?
Oh, it's simple. I believe I have strong connections to people in government. I believe I can simply, come to an agreement with them for what is necessary, what funding does the South require for everything that we plan to do, and we could very easily come to an agreeable number for the both of us and get things done.
For Popovich and Velik, the two Lipcon members, the Lipcons have dealt with factionalism between liberals, conservatives, and what is now the Democratic Mandate Party. This has hampered government. How are you going to deal with factionalism in your guys'
Well, the way I see it, the factionalism has been dealt with. I mean, the mandate is no longer a part of the Libcons. The Liberals are a minor faction. I mean, we are a pretty consolidated party at this point. We have a pretty strong vision and that we're working towards. I think that this purge that happened of the mandate was very important to actually get the party on the right track. And now that it's done, a lot of things are going to change and a lot of things are going to improve for the South and for the nation as a whole.
While I was gone, it seems that the party, the all the factions of the Libcons have split apart, and I'm not sure how to feel about that. But it doesn't seem the Libcons were not able to stay unified enough if we wanted to retain the unity between these different groups of these factions.
You're a liberal, right? Velik, you're liberal. What is
I
your
am a
opinion on Sobchak purging liberals from the party? Or not purging, or like splitting up?
Not liberals. The purge party was the mandate.
What is your opinion on liberals
Fascists.
leaving the party under me?
I would personally say that it's at least understandable to some degree, right? That the liberals, the Libcons have for a long while been dominated by the conservative faction, and if the liberals wish to do their own thing, nationally, a separate party, then let's see how that goes.
What is your opinion on the factionalism of the Libcon?
I'm sorry. How's this question relevant to Felix?
Felix has many opinions on the Libcons.
Wait,
He's
what's the
been
question?
bitching
About the factions
What
of
is
the
your-
Libcons.
Look, the Libcons, they're a heavily divided party full of partisan hacks and schemers. Let's say, for any person that's looking for unity, they should steer away from the Libcons, for they're maybe the most disunited party in this country.
I have a question. You were called mandate fascists. As a former mandate member, I take this with severe offense. How would you win over the votes of mandate members while calling them fascists?
I think that there are members of the mandate who were fascists, yes, but there are also members who were, persuaded by a rhetoric that, that was incorrect at the time, but they didn't understand that at the time. And I think it's important to show that to the people who voted to the mandate and show that the correct way is the Libcons and not the mandate. The mandate has no power in government. They're not going to have power in government. If they had their way, the country would likely collapse or turn into Gloatia. I mean, it's just not a party to. It's not a party to vote for. So.
The debate is almost over. One final question. Say one positive thing about the other candidates. And if you can't, I punch.
I would like to say about Felix here that he seems to be a very good passionate man with a certain vision of things and that's I can admire.
Say something positive about the other.
About one candidate or about both of them? Oh.
Both of them, but it really doesn't matter. I'm just trying to wrap this up.
Well, yeah, I believe that Felix has some strong ideas that he really believes in, and even though he may be wrong about a couple of things, this is he does come up with some good ideas every once in a while, like subsidies for farming and stuff like that. And I think it's good that he pushes for those ideas. And Valak is a very she's a very good very good at coming to compromises in situations and offering a solution, I suppose, for people who disagree.
And I'd like to say about you that, I personally agree with, many of your points, obviously, because we were part of the same party, but, it's, yeah, I'm glad, that you stick to your principles.
All right.
The debate's over, I guess.
Wow, Felix couldn't say something good